Hey guys, I'm finally back with my January wrap up. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it started off a really good reading month and then it kind of dipped and dived. There was maybe like one book that kind of slowed me, no, two books that kind of slowed me down. I don't know if it's because they were ebooks or if it was just because they were just not really my thing and it just didn't go well. But anyway, I'm not going to complain. I read 8 books this month. Now, I started with Blankets. Now, you know this book because I did a review on this, which I will also link below. And it's by Craig Thompson, and it is a autobiography. And I told you how much I thought this was an interesting read, and I showed you some of the artwork, and we talked about how interesting that was. And if you haven't picked it up, I think you should really try. It's a really interesting way to, yeah, to talk about one's life. Next, I picked up Jimmy Corrigan, The Smartest Kid on Earth. I told you about this one as well. I did a review, which will be linked below. And this is also, I would say, semi-autobiographical. This is the first book that I've read by this author. I think his name is, what is his name? I can't remember what his name is. Chris something or other. Anyway, I told you that I really like this one. You know, the pictures are interesting. The only thing that I didn't like was the really extremely small writing, which was annoying. But other than that, everything was good and it was semi-autobiographical. Next, I read Buck, A Memoir, and this was also a fairly interesting read. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. For a memoir, from my point of view, it was good. You know, I mean, I wouldn't rave about it, but it was good. It was, because I don't usually read memoirs and things like that. So this is kind of a weird month for me because, I mean, there's a lot of semi-autobiographical and autobiographical. But this was about a kid from the ghettos of Philadelphia who gets himself out of that. Wow, what a mess. Manages to get himself out to become a writer and a respected artist, musician, etc., etc. So I did a review on this and I told you that it's got strong language and some, you know, thug stuff in it. But I thought it was a good read and well packaged, I must say. Okay, and then there you have it right there. That's the guy. All right, so I gave that one 3 stars. Then I went on to Carson McCullers' The Ballad of the Sad Cafe. This is the first Carson McCullers I've read. I got hooked onto this by Grace Eickmeyer, who was talking about having read The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. So I decided to start with The Battle of the Sad Cafe, which was an interesting read, I must say. I felt like when I was reading this, I felt like I was hearing a narrator in my head telling me a story. It's very Southern in that way. The kind of story that lingers with you a little bit and that, that you have the impression that your grandmother or your grandfather has told you the story before. That's how it's recounted, and I like that kind of thing. It's very short. This is the Penguin Modern Classics, if you're interested. And this is a bookmark that I made to go inside of it. All right, I gave that 4 stars. I really liked it. And then, of course, yes, The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. You know I love this book. This was probably the best read of the month of January. It's getting a big 4 stars. I would have given it 4.5, but you know, Goodreads is still messing with us, refuses to give us half stars. Be that as it may, if you missed my review, I will link it below. I will also link below my blog post as well over on WordPress. But yeah, you know this, you've heard about this book. You know, it's Oscar Wilde, who is a Dominican origin American nerd, overweight, you know, desperately wants to be in love, but it's just not happening for Oscar. And yeah, so we follow him and his family through this really epic, compact story. Love this edition because I don't see it very often. All of the winners of this, the two winners of this copy and the other copy, no worries. Your stuff is in the mail. You should be getting it soon. Then I read The Rainy Day Killer. Killed my reading experience. I'm sorry. I don't mind reading detective and murder stories, but this was The Rainy Day Killer is written by Michael J. McCann. And The Rainy Day Killer is like the fourth, I think it's the fourth book in this series. And this is the first one I've read. So I'm thinking maybe it's because it's the fourth book, but I'm not really sure. This was just, I felt like I was reading like a CSI TV show or something. It was lacking in, dimension, some of these characters. They just seemed way too flat for me to be interesting in a detective novel. Now, basically, the storyline is a killer, and he's called the Rainy Day Killer because basically he picks up the woman, 2 days before it's about the rain or something like that, and he takes them to a secluded place. And he basically rapes them and chokes them and does all kinds of nasty things to them. And then when they can't cope anymore because their heart goes out or because they just, from being raped and choked, then he kills them, cuts off their private parts and their breast, and then leaves them in some kind of public place, but waits until rigor mortis is about to set in so that he places the body like he wants it to be, and then the police find the body stiff in this position. Yeah, it was ooh. But like I said, the main character, the two detectives, both meh. There's nothing interesting about these people. They seemed very stereotypical to me. All the characters had sort of stereotypical ways about them. Even the killer was, you kind of knew what was going to happen, and you knew who the killer was, and you knew where all the shit was going down. So don't waste your time on The Rainy Day Killer. That whole series, no. And then I read Hunger by Knut Hamsun, and that was the January pick for the International Reads Book Club over on Goodreads. Well, this one as well, meh. Sorry, no. No, ma'am. I read this book, I think I read it like in a day and a half or something, because I just wanted it to be over. I mean, over. Because I started reading this book and I just, I thought, what is so damn interesting about this book? The writing isn't that fantastic. I mean, it's okay, but it's nothing that I'm going to remember, a year later, not even a week later for that matter. And the storyline is basically this writer who is basically, he has no job. He's writing and he's hoping to get this thing published and so he can make money. But in the meantime, what he does is he wanders the street starving and, doing crazy stuff in the street and talking about people in the street and stuff. And he's fairly conceited and arrogant because, who else would be starving in the street, go sell their coat so they can get money to give money to someone else that has not eaten in a day when he himself hasn't eaten in a week? That's, get a job. Anyway, not my cup of tea at all. Knut Hamsun, I think he won some big prize for this book. And I think he's Finnish origin or something like that. No. All right. Then everything went up from there because it was going down, with The Rainy Day Killer and Hunger. Whoa, we were in the basement. And then I picked up Red Dust Road, and that was a pick-me-up. Okay, now this as well is an autobiographical work written by Jackie Kay about her search for her real parents, because Jackie Kay is Scottish origin, but yet she is a product of a relationship between a Nigerian man and a woman from the Highlands. And so basically, she learns a lot about herself, her family, her parents, and we learn it all with her. And it's beautifully recounted. Her voice is just touching, inspiring, and you can see a little bit about how she's inspired to write some of the poetry that she writes and things like that. If you haven't read this and you're interested in reading, memoir or something that is autobiographical, I suggest you pick this up, because I found that it was a really inspiring read. Like in the inside cover, it says, a thing that was really interesting. It says, in a book shining with warmth, humor, and compassion, she discovers that inheritance is about much more than genes, that we are shaped by songs as much as by cells, and that our internal landscapes are as important as those through which we move. Now that statement right there really sums up the book. And the joy of going along with her on this ride, it really touched me, and in places that I could actually understand. So yeah, so I gave this one 4 stars, and that was my month of January. So you judge. I think it was mediocre. But yeah, there were some gems. There was Red Dust Road, and of course it was Oscar Wilde. But we need to do better, huh? So next month is February, so it is Black History Month, and so I'm doing just what I did last year. I would say 90% of the books that I'm going to be reading are written by African Americans, or at least about the experience of African Americans or Black people somewhere in the world. And I will also be reading Ladies Coupe for my book club. And I will be reading The House of Leaves along with the Goodreads Booktube group. And I will be reading something else. I'll be buddy reading Americana with Dominique Taylor over at Token in America. And I don't know, I'll be reading lots of stuff. So let's just hope I can really dig in, because at the moment this week is kind of strange, because I have this Irish student that's staying in our house at the moment while the work is going on. A hot mess. But anyway, and my work schedule is not so heavy, so I'm hoping that I can really dig in and read quite a bit while all this mess is going on here. So that's all I have for you today. Link below what's happening with you reading, and how was your January reading month. Yeah, grade my reading month of January and tell me what you think. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4? What do you think it was? And I will talk to you soon with something interesting. I don't know what. Something bookish. Okay? Bye-bye.